Kumlan and Ablak Gemara. Today we are finishing Pedek Hakoinis, Samach Beis, and sort of ends the first half of Bava Kama, which is all about Nezikin. Then we move on to better things or other things about stealing and all that kind of stuff. So let's first finish the Samach Beis. We are up to the Gemara here on my Rabbah. So the last thing we learned was that if I am, we made a distinction between if you light a fire in your own property and travels across the roads, then even the Rabbanon say that you are, sorry, in that case the Rabbanon say if you travel across the road and it burns tamun, hidden things, you're not responsible. But if you go ahead and you light it directly in that person's property, then according to the Rabbanon, you're chayiv for all things which are regular, which people normally keep there, like the tools and that you need for plowing. And according to Yehuda, you're responsible for everything. And then we learned over there in the Braisa that if I, let's say, gave you permission to, let's say, put wheat there, and then you put wheat and you covered it with barley, and then I caused it to lit a fire and I caused it to be ruined, I have to pay for barley because I can say I thought it was barley, so I wasn't so careful, and so on. So we're up to another Gemara, and the Gemara will bring some parallel halachas. Amar Rabba, says Rabba, about 10 lines from the top of the page. Hanoisen dinazov isha, a person gives a golden coin to a woman. And he says to her, he's already boy. I want you please to mind this. But he told her shall kesefu. He told her it was silver, which is obviously worth a lot less. Hizi kosai, if she went ahead and she damaged it directly, mishalem es dinazov. Even though she thought it was silver, and that's what he told her, she has to pay the full price, whatever it is, it's gold. Why? He says to her, what's the difference between what it was? Who gave you the right to go ahead and cause it damage? That's if she directly went and caused the damage. But Pasha boy, if she was negligent, we're just talking about you.
I'm trying to figure out if you're back or not. I just wasn't feeling great.
Okay. Pasha boy, if she was negligent, then if she was not negligent in his care, then she pays as if it was silver. Because the Amrele, she tells him, I only accepted responsibility. So if I was negligent, I'm responsible if it was silver. You told me it was silver. That's what I took responsibility. I never accepted responsibility for gold. You're telling me this whole thing is based on Rava. I can tell you from the Mishnah. She was told it was silver, really was gold, and then she was negligent. She has to pay as if it was silver. Right? And you're saying Rava made a chiddush. That's exactly what we learned before. Chitin, yeah. We talked about wheat, but then you covered with barley, so I assumed that it was barley. So barley that would turn wheat. In both cases, you only pay barley. In the case where it was actually wheat, you cover the barley. I can say I thought it was barley, therefore I'm only responsible for barley. Same thing, I'm only responsible here for barley. I'm only responsible for barley. So therefore, same here. She thought it was silver, and therefore, when it comes to negligence, she thought it was only responsible for that. Now, in the first case over here is if she damaged it directly, we say she has to pay for it. Who cares what she thought it was? You have to pay for it. So how come previously we said, if I said, you can put barley here, and then she put in wheat, and all I have to pay is barley. In the case before the fire, if I told you put in barley and you put in wheat, and then it got burnt, I only pay for barley because that's what even though I burnt it. So I'm a mazik. I'm a mazik, and yet we say we don't say the cheshbon here. Oh, malocha, who cares what it was? You have no right to damage it and pay for full price. What's the difference? So Rashi says a very interesting thing. Rashi says here about 8 lines in the narrow lines that lighting a fire is not exactly the same thing as physically going and damaging it. Lighting a fire is like a cause, and ela pesheya, more like negligence. Because it said in the pasuk, which I heard from my teacher. So Rashi is saying that lighting a fire is not the same thing as a woman. A woman, when she physically damaged it, you had to pay. Who cares what you thought it was? You damaged. You got to pay the full price. When you light a fire, and I thought it was barley, it's more like negligence, which is a little bit hard to understand because before we had Isha Mishum Chitzav, we said before that a fire is like your arrow. It's like you did it personally. So it must be, according to Rashi, that are degrees of directly hurting something. If I go and punch it or break it or something else, that's direct. If a fire, even though we're saying on the one hand it's like an arrow, but it's still Even with an arrow, it's not the same thing as picking up the item itself that I'm about to break and work and breaking it. An arrow is still separate from that item, even though it's inevitable. It's one step away, and therefore that one step away. And I thought it was barley. All I have to pay is barley. That's how Rashi learns. Traces learns there's a difference if you light the fire on your own property or if you light the fire in the other person's property. And Traces says only if you light the fire in the other person's property, that's mamash mazik b'yadayim. But if I light it to my own property and then it travels, that's more distant. That's more like a pesheya. And therefore you only pay for barley. I assumed that it was barley. We spoke about barley and you put in wheat, therefore I'm only responsible for barley. I understand, but it's a step away. If I go into your property and I light it, it's mamash mazik b'yadayim. Rashi makes no distinction. Rashi has no difference between shaloi, between shachaveda. Rashi says that mav is always one step away. You always like a pesheya rather than mazik, but compared to a normal possessions mazik, it's a step above that.
Oh, that's the debt of
exactly. Exactly. Okay, back to the Gemara. Amar Rav Shambid Milsul Rav Yehuda. We're in the last narrow line. Amar Rav said, Shambid Milsul Rav Yehuda. I heard something about Rav Yehuda, but I'm not sure what it is. Amar Shmuel v'lo Abba Mai Shmile Rav Yehuda. Abba, you have no idea what you heard about Rav Yehuda. Abba was a term of endearment, or some say Abba. Rashi remember different places. Abba was actually his real name. And Rav was a term of endearment. And I'll tell you what it was. The Mechayiv on Iskitama Beish. You know what Rabbi Yehuda? You're talking about Rabbi Yehuda that says that when you light a fire, you have to pay. We're in the second white line. You have to pay things that also that are covered over. That's what Yehuda says, and he uses the word "kama" to teach you other things like livestock or trees. Also, takonas nigzel beish. You know what Yehuda said? That will make the takon of a nigzel. Somebody Shimon stole from Reuben, and Reuben said, "You stole $1,000." And Shimon says, "I don't know what I stole," or Shimon denies it. We believe Reuben. Once Shimon is a culprit and he's a ganif, we believe Reuben what the quantity is. We didn't make him swear, and he takes whatever it is. So we make that takana that we trust the nigzel. The same thing by a fire. I lit a fire, and according to Yehuda, if I burned down your whatever your crop there, and buried underneath was something there, and the guy says, "Hey, there was Talmud there and it was worth X amount of dollars," then we're going to trust him. He has to swear, and he can collect. We trust him because also takana's nigzel. By this case.
You can't say I had a Rolls Royce buried in the haystack. Yeah, it'll be something that
we'll see more of it. We'll talk about it in a minute. Boy, I may ask a question. Also, Takanas Nizel the Moser life. Somebody was a master, somebody was an informer. He told the government about this. He'd had some money, and the question is how much was stolen. And the Moser says. The Moser says it was X. So if the Moser denies it, or he just says I don't know. And do we trust implicitly the one who's the victim? So we say that we trust. The question is, do we? In this case, we made that special takana that he can swear and take, or not? I'll leave it about the one who said that you don't follow the rules of Gami. According to most Rishonim, we have three levels. There's a direct mazik, directly. There's a Garmi, and there's a Groma. Garmi means your direct cause, and Groma is a step away from that. Some say Groma is a delay, Garmi is a bit, happens sort of instantaneously, but it's not. I'm not touching it. I do, like I open the refrigerator door, let's say, and the blast right away, the refrigerator goes on. If it's immediate, but it's not. I didn't make the refrigerator go on. So I'm a cause, but it's a direct cause. That's Garmi. Grami is if it's a 5-second delay, 10-second delay. So then it's a step away. That's how most Rishonim learn. And therefore, most Rishonim hold that Garmi maybe you're chayiv generally when it comes to the zikin. The Meir holds Garmi you're chayiv. So if you follow the Meir halach like Meir, then you would by Zayroisa. So then Garmi you're chayiv. But Grama you're potter. We heard you had more a few days ago that Grama ben zikin is potter. According to everybody, according to Allah. Rashi holds there's no difference Garmi and Grama. Anything which is not direct is called. It comes under the same. And Rashi just says sometimes it's called Garmi, sometimes it's called Grama. It means the same thing. Be the same machlekes. Even if you hold a Garmi, you're chayiv. The machlekes is chayiv with the rabbanon or chayiv with the raisa. Is it mamish like you're a mazik, or it's not a mazik? It's only the rabbanon that we ask. So says more as follows: the one who said now what's a masa? A masa didn't do any hezek. He caused the hezek to happen. He informed the government. They came in and they took they invaded your house and they went through the premises and they took whatever they took. So a little bit of the one who said that a cause is not in the court of law. You can't charge you the like to bailach. The Messias Nami and we can't charge the guy's a muscle. Elakita boy the Chilim the Indian. What says you do judge Diligami? Also, takonas nizel b'mosad the mishtabe b'shokoloi. Do we make the same takona that the victim should be? I mean, it's hard to understand what the question is. You want a muscle is the most despicable thing. The Rambam says you can kill a muscle today. Yeah, the most despicable behavior. Why would you not make a special takana here to help the guy out? To teach a lesson. Or because we don't do knossos. We don't do knossos. It's only what he's entitled to. In Chutzlah, we don't do knossos, and it's so we don't have a bezin today. So we don't know what's a targum. When it concludes, teku. Big machek to show you what teku means. The Rif says teku is every taking the money is cool, and so therefore you don't take anything. Rabbi Goyen says take the mum and you split in half. So therefore the nigzel swears, the victim swears, and he collects half his money. And the Rif says no, I hold like the Rif, you don't get paid at all. Rabbi Tam learned that this is talking about the whole Gemara is talking about where the Moshe contradicts the victim. And if the shaila is to make a special takana, usually we say you need a special takana to change that law and say, look, in this case here we're going to trust the teveh, we're going to trust the one who's claiming the plaintiff because this is a despicable thing. But however, the Rabbi Tam says if the Moshe himself doesn't know, he just told the government, I know he's hiding money that he's not paying taxes on and sitting in his bathroom under the toilet or something. And he has no idea how much money is sitting there. So that's in that case, then definitely we should believe the victim. And the D argues, he says, just like by fire, the Nigel has the one who lit the fire has no way of knowing how much was tumbled. There's no way of knowing. And obviously that's what I was talking about. He can't contradict it, he has no way of knowing. And yet we say that we have a special takana, and we're asking a question: do we have the same takana when it comes to the victim? So it means even if the Moshe says, "I don't know," we still a question whether we trust the nimsa. We just say swear or not, and it's a takeaway. And that he holds. Too bad you get nothing, or you get whatever the minimum that the other guy might agree with. Second about right, now this is the question you asked. Who gave the person the butters because he went overhead and he gave a kick in the box, the money chest of his friend and Shadya Benara, and it fell into the water. Also, Muddy, the owner of the box, came along and he said, "Hey, Hachi have li bigava." I had so much in that box. Yossi, what happened? Can you trust the guy in the money box or not? So they tell you how much was in there. The person who did the hezek had no idea how much was in there. What happened in this case here? So the Gemara, isn't this our Mishnah Nan? Remember, this is like Talmud. If I go light your big house down, and in a big house you carry all kinds of things, normal things. You pay everything that was in there. She can't have any other than you ever bought him. And therefore, it's a money box. Obviously, that's what's the store money.
He's got his life savings in his chest and he's keeping it next to the window, next to the river, just so that if somebody gives it one kick, this is kind of
yeah, well, he thought he can trust you.
Your normal place to throw your money.
So he said, yes. You're right. If he claims there's $1,000 sitting there, that's what a money chest is, for money. We'll have no choice but to trust the victim in this case there. And here it's not a cause over here. Here he made the hezek. Right, he made that. My question is something that normally you don't keep in a box, in a money box. And he says it was a precious jewelry, the gems. Do people put those kind of things in a money box or not? Take cool. Same machlekes about before, whether the victim can go ahead and claim it or not. If this guy claimed, like an insurance claim, suddenly you have these things you never bought in your life. You claim I had a computer, a $10,000 computer, I had this, I had that. What happens? He says, "Hey, you you burnt my house down. I want you to know I had a silver goblet in my house worth a fortune." So what do we trust him or not? Now that you can't tell, everything is burnt into cinders. Amalei Chazina, we say, if he's a wealthy person, that can make sense. He would have a silver becher, and these like cost the cash for good. Or even if he's not a wealthy person, if he's a trustworthy person that people normally give him things to mind for them, then he swears and he takes. I don't understand why, if he's normally mifkid, why don't they ask him, did you have, whose was it? Unless that's that person, if he gave it to him or not. Why don't we go anymore, do any investigations there? Rather, we say, just swear and we trust him.
I don't think it's so much the union of who the stuff belongs to. The question is, can we believe him on his word or not?
I understand, but if he says, if he's not a rich man,
trust, so he's believable.
Yeah, but if he's not a rich man, and he's saying that
the question is, can we believe him?
Yeah, but if he's not a rich man, where would he have it from? It could only be because other people give him to. So you think the pshating mode is that even though he's not a rich man, it's try that he saved up all his money and bought himself and Bechal is a trustworthy person.
And the question is, can we trust him? So the
but
people we trust him with their chaytzim.
Okay, maybe. Being lav kol kaminu. Not you don't believe. So other berede, so Rabbi said to Ravashi, tell me, what is the difference in a gazlan and a chamsin? Because we have, what is between a gazlan and a chamsin? Amalei, he said to him, chamsin yov dami, and gazlan lo yov dami. A chamsin throws the money at him, you don't want to sell, but I take it from him. And a gazlan doesn't pay. Amalei yov dami, chamsin korusale. If he paid, okay, he's not a nice person, but why call him a chamsin, which like he's a ganef? Rabuna said, if I force you to sell me something, it's a valid sale. Like kasha, at the end of the day, he says, now there's two ways of pshating money. Simple pshating money is when Rabuna is talking about, I force you to sell me something, you have to say reitzani, and that's why over there it's a valid sale. Over here, by the case of the chamsin, the guy never said reitzani, so you're a ganef. But the case says that you're only a ganef with the rabbanon, the chamsin is only a ganef with the rabbanon. And that's what happens in the Chafei, the list of all the people that they added on to the list that you're not trustworthy for ages, comes to the added on later. However, the Rambam Paskins by Tlui V'Zovin, you don't have to say Reitzani. Everybody wants to know what's the shot in the Rambam. More as a clue Reitzani. The Ketzer Mishnah says that in that case over there, the guy doesn't protest. It's as if he said Reitzani. No, so the Chams is the same thing. What's the shot? So then Sivis is a beautiful thing. The Sivis Hamishpah, they learn stuff like this. In the case of Tzluy V'Zovin, I threaten you. Either I threaten you, I'm going to kill you if you don't sell me your property. We had the whole thing that's Sikhikan. Or he says, some other threats. So in order for you, so when you pay me, we pay this guy out. You pay the guy out and say, okay, here, sell it now, here, give me your money out and sell the property. You actually are happy to sell it because you got something for it, not just the money. You got him to stop bothering you. You got him to remove that threat. So in exchange of that, you're happy to sell it. I don't have to say Reitzani. I don't have to say Reitzani. If that's right, but me not protesting means I'm happy. Over here by Chamsin, there's no threat. The guy you have a nice car, he gives you $5,000, I'm taking your car from you. He didn't threaten you or anything else. So therefore you have no interest in selling the car. You just threw it, you took the car. So if I say Reitzani, okay, so at least then he's masking that he'll take it. If he does say Reitzani, you're a ganef. So it's very different in the case of the Mishnah, top of the page. We already had this concept before. This is the only place in Shas where you have Chanukah mentioned in the Mishnah. Gates of Spakshi came out from under a hammer. They can cause damage. Chayiv, you're chayiv, because you're responsible. Gomel, a camel, we had this before. Shahayaton, Pishtun, a camel that had on it, had flax on it. And cross the Shusarabi, the Nichnes Pishton, and the flax sort of when it was all over the place. It entered the store with some candles burning. When he got caught on fire from the candle of the stove, he leaked his abida and he lit the entire building down. What's your flax doing in the guy's store? Yes, we had a chabait, not a Mishnah, the Gemara. When we had the Gemara, the argument what fire is, we brought this as a question. When he placed his candle outside, which he had no right to, really said, but the Cheveni put it outside, it's a mitzvah is different. Then the had every right. You Balgamo should have been more careful. Mitzvah, from here we can see that the mitzvah you should make it as low as below 10 tvachim. And that is written actually as a minig that you should have the Chanukah lich, try to make a Chanukah lich 10 tvachim high, lower than 10 tvachim high. From the fact that he said Why? Because he said, if the can be behind the Tvachim, let's tell the storekeeper, so what is Chanukah? You should have made it 10 amos high so that camels with flax don't catch on fire. Should have placed the candle higher than the camel and all its wares. And that I've made that you have to put it by 10 Tvachim, and therefore it's caught on fire. Maybe you can have a candle wherever you want. What are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me, that the owner of the store should be matriach and lighted, 5 amos high. Keeping the mitzvah cost, because you're doing a mitzvah, we're not going to make him, we're not going to much him, we're not going to bother him. Now we're talking about height. So ideally, you should put it mitzvah. We're not saying that that's the only time you yaitz, but mitzvah and this is the basis for that halacha. By the way, that's we should try to make it 10 tefachim. According to the Torah and others, but if it's this only time if it's outside, if it's inside your house, it really makes no difference where it is. And apostle, like a sukkah and like a mother. Your sukkah higher than 20 amos is possible, and a mother, if you want to make an erev and you have a beamer going across, it's possible because nobody can see it. The Gemara there brings the name of Tanchum. Also, that a boy came by mine and threw Yisuf in the pit. A boy came by mine. Mine mean, but there was no water there. But there were snakes and scorpions. Everyone wants to know what's that Gemara doing in the middle of the laws of Hanukkah. So the simple answer everybody gives, it's the same author of Tanchum. So therefore, and I told you last time, Tanchum, they say, some say he wrote Medrash Tanchum. So he always does drash. So they said something in his name. But the Meir Shapiro said that no. It's juxtaposed to this sugi here about Lamayla Metzimam. What's the reason why a sukkah cannot be higher than 20 amos? Because it says a manyedu doida says you have to know you can't see it. Or it's saying a mobile. Why not? There has to be a hecken and you don't see it. So how can the brothers have thrown Yosef into a pit that was full of choshim akravim? Must be because it was very deep and they can't see it. So from here you see that just because something is there doesn't mean that you're aware of it. If there's a certain depth or height, you don't see it. And then from there the Gemara segues into that a Chanukah can't be too high because then nobody's going to see it. So there's a connection between these two sugis. There's 3 opinions in the Gemara. 3 opinions. Rabba, and Avzeda. That's
you have a very short camel.
What you just said is Avzeda, which is like the middle one. Rabba said because of Manyedu de Seichem, you have to know what you have to be aware and you're not aware.
So Rabba is the Chadrai, he's not worried because he's very tall. Zayda is not seen.
Very good. And where does Rabba fit in?
I'm worried here that our camel is very short. So if you put it within 10.
No. The flax is hanging down on the sides, drooping over there. Okay, now starts the second half of Bava Kama, which is all about Gzela, Geneva, and about Yush, and so on. This Peder is one of the most famous yeshiva sheparakim that we learn. So we have time as we go through. I'll remind myself some of the tzosim that we learned then, and see if anything comes back to memory. Mishnah. Meruba midas. Now, when you steal something, if you're a gazlan, you pay back whatever you stole, and that's it. You're brazen enough that you're not scared of Hashem and people. You just pay back whatever the principle. But if you're a ganif, which is such a dastardly act that you're scared of people, you're not scared of the Eibishter, we penalize you. You pay kefil, you pay double. If you stole a shor, a cow or a sheep, and you shecht it and sell it, or you shecht it, you pay 4 or 5 times. For a shor, you pay 5 times, and for a say, you pay 4 because say you carried it, you had rachmanas, whatever it is, so you worked a little harder, you only pay 4 times. Very interesting chakira they have. What happens if you stole a animal that was already geshachten, and now you sell it? You still pay the 4 or 5 times, or dafka if it was alive, and so on. Anyway, says the Mishnah. There's more instances where you pay kefil than you pay 4 or 5 times. Why? The midas tashlumei kefil is when do you pay kefil? Ben b'davish v'chayim b'im doshem b'ruchayim. I don't care that things alive but not alive. You got to pay double, as the pasuk says. It says even sound, even a dress. But a midas tashlumei v'chamisha. When do you pay 4 or 5 times? Only by a cow and only by a sheep. Now it says ki yignav ish shoyr oisef. You stole a shoyr oisef v'tvacha you shechter and mechara you sold it. So it's clear only a shoyr oisef you pay this 4 or 5 times if you sold it or shechted it. Then the next part of the Mishnah, Ein Hagoynef. Do you want to say why you want to count it? Ein Hagoynef Haganim Shalom Kefil. If you steal from the Ganef, you don't pay double. Why? Because it says in the pasuk, only if you steal the Guna Beis Ish, only if you stole it from the original owner. Now, what about the Ganav who let's say had Yehu Shashina Rishus, so we know that became the Ganav, but it did not come into his possession legally. It came into possession illicitly, and therefore you don't pay. He shouldn't benefit from his like Chaytaniska. He shouldn't benefit from it. You don't have to pay. Same thing is if you shecht it to sell it, from and you stole from a Ganav, you don't have to pay 4 or 5 times. So the ilu midas tash is another difference. What happens if I'm a shomer and I lie and I said it was stolen? So I'm a shomer chinim, I'm exempt. Turned out to be that I am personally the ganef. So what happens then? I pay the kefil to the owners. We'll tell you in time is ganef. What happens if then I not only stole it, it's going to be I stole it, the shomer, but I also shechted it. Do I pay 4 or 5 times? I was just a shomer. But he came to my hand legally because I was a shamer. So we learned from a special place that you pay, if I lied and I swore false, I pay for the Geneva. What about if I shechter or sold it? Why doesn't the Mishnah make a difference there as well? Is it right that the Mishnah holds that a shamer pays, just like he pays carefully, also pays Bava Kama Daf? That's why the Mishnah doesn't mention it. So Gemara wants to bring a right from here to an opinion of an Amir who says that. Says Gemara, the ilu midas tash to make even eggs begana. Why don't we make another difference that that a gana, if you're a shaman and you lie about it and you swear false and turn out to be you're the gana if you pay double, and if you shecht it and sold it, you don't pay the 4 or 5 times. Look, Messiah doesn't the support of Chibarabba. If somebody tiny gun begotten, Mishal is really capable, you pay the double. And if Tava Chomach, if he shechter or you sold it, Mishal, it's talking no difference. So the first version of the Gemara is saying, let's bring a support from this Mishnah. And the Gemara doesn't repudiate it. Ikidam, another version is Lema Messiah, let's bring a support to Chibarabba. Let's bring the second version is we want to bring support in the Mishnah, and then Mara concludes Lav Dafka. So the Gemara says no raya. Me Tani does it say Ein Bain? If the Mishnah would have used the expression Ein Bain, there is no difference. Okay, then I would say, what do you mean? There's another difference. Why is the Mishnah mentioned? And they'll bring a raya. Merubik Tani. It just says there are differences. That this has more than that. The Mishnah is not out to list and delineate every single difference. Now, it already says not every Ein Bain also we say it's only limited to that, but generally it depends where in the context of the Mishnah. Here, it would have said Ein Bain, it would have meant this is the only difference, and then you could bring a support. Now you can't. Says how do you know? The sugi the next day or two is there's a difference between klal and prat klal and ribui and miyat and ribui. Remember, I actually had a machleki Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Kiva. How do you dash in the Torah? So just quickly. A klal prat, and there's a long Rashi in the next few days. A klal or prat klal is the first word is all inclusive. The next word is very specific. So we say ein b'klal elo mashu b'prat. The prat is coming to limit the klal. If there's another klal afterwards, it's coming to expand, but it still has to be me'ena prat. It has to be similar to the prat. And then the question is, it has to be similar. One respect, two respect, how machlek is in Arab and so on. Ribui was very different. Ribui includes everything. Comes along a prat. And the riba and a miyut is just like klal prat klal, that we say that the miyut is coming to say has to be similar to this miyut, just like a klal prat klal is tantamount to a riba and a miyut. Then if you have another riba afterwards, it's coming to include everything again, bar the thing which is the most I guess the most opposite of whatever the prat is. Okay, bear that in mind. Let's continue. How do you know? How do you know that whether the thing's alive or not alive? You might ask, how do you know? The Torah we learned. It says, "I called Rapesha Klal." It says, "I told Rapesha Klal al shoyd al chamoyd." This is a pasuk. Shoyd. These are 4 examples: shoyd, chamoyd, seh, and then it said al salma. The shoyd said al salma on the dress. Prat. Right? Again, be very specific. And then it says in the pasuk al kol aveda, on any lost object chozav v'kol. Klal prat klal don ela prat. What do we see about the prat? 4 pratim. Ma prat mefudish dover hametalta, the all portable items. The goof and mammon, they themselves inherently are worth money. Af kol dover hametalta, anything which is portable, the goof and mammon, anything which is mobile and goof and mammon is inherently mammon. So what are we trying to exclude here? First of all, yotzu kakoyis. That you don't pay kavels, you stole property. First of all, you don't steal property. She'ena metalklin, because it's not mobile. Yotzu avodim shehuksu l'kakois. Avodim are compared to kakois. So it's a chaltem oisa when you pass it. I mean, the nachla is like property. And so about avodim. Yotzu status. We're excluding now contracts. Why? Long contact, alpha pisha metaltlin, they are, it's portable, mobile. Ain goof and moment. It represents money. And we had before, Seder Shtarosh Chaveda is only got me. If I destroy your checks, it itself is not inherent, it has no value. In the Achreim, they all talk about our currencies. If I take your dollar bills and I burn it in my chai, is it a garmi or is it like a direct mazik? Because it's in Amol, the coins had the value, whatever the value was, copper or silver, exactly. Here, it's representative of something the bank has. How do we view that? Is that like say or not? Yotza Hege, and others want to say it is because it's a standard for everything. No, since everything is the same, yeah, that's the value itself. And others argue, no, it itself is not inherent value. Okay. Yotza Hegdish, another exception, Hegdish we learned before, they it says it has to be your friend, and this is not your friend. Okay. So we already had this before as well, this idea. If we're going to compare it to a prat, if you lift the shor and a chamoid, it's metame shaybe magid touching masik. Which living things are not metame? A bird. A bird. Now a toidik bird is metame a beisablia. You swallow it, you become tame. A tomadik bird is not tame at all. So therefore, maybe it comes to exclude birds. If I steal a bird, I don't have to pay double. More or less said. I've called over. How can you even make that conclusion? Amri Anan, you're right. Come in. Amongst the Baal Chaim, of course, you don't need double Chaim. But amongst the Baal Chaim, maybe it's limited. The 3 examples of Baal Chaim are all examples of animals that are Tami Magamasa. So a bird is a Baal Chaim, falls under those 3 protim, and there's Tamatami. So maybe Taki, you don't pay double on it. We'll get to in a second. Maybe by Baal Chaim, Dover, Shvelos, Magamasa in, Dover, Shvelos, and then he goes a step further. Because there are so many protein which are extra, the Torah wants to tell you something. And it maybe want to tell you as if each prat has its own cloud. No, it's the same cloud that we use for the total protein, the cloud prior and the cloud post. As if each prat has its own cloud before and cloud after. We have to compare it to that prat. And therefore, when we talk about Baal Chaim, maybe we has to be me'ena prat. I want this metame b'magamasa. The kol chad v'chad klal uprat ba'apinafshid. Each one has as if their own klal uprat. We don't put the aggregate of these 3 animals because no point. Because if you put them all, bunch them all together, you'll say, well, that's what Salmon comes to do. Salmon comes to tell you, even if you're not even a bird. But now that we imagine, since there's so many proteins, that is one. Each one has their own cloud, or cloud. Maybe it has to be a living thing. It has to be tame. I believe it's like. Says the Gemara in Cain, if that's what you want, then nichtav rachmana chad prat. Let it take only say 1 prat, and we'll say, well, what do we know about this prat? Maga masa, and a bird, there's no kefil. Says the Gemara, no, we couldn't have just said 1 prat. We needed all 3 examples, which we had in the Gemara a few days ago. We need all 3 examples in order to tell us what kind of you pay double. Why? Hi nichtav rachmana. Which one should it say? Ikos rachmana should it only say shoy. You know what I would think? You're right. But not only a bird is excluded, I'll exclude many other animals. Why? Because a shoy is something that goes on his beach. Have a mean any animal which can be brought in his beach, a donkey, camel, you don't pay double. No. So let's just say the moment it says chamar, we know that it's not shy to his beach. I mean, I would say, you know what? God is only something that has some kedusha in it, a chamoid has kedusha, and maybe a seh, and that's it. Everything else you don't pay for, even a shoyr. So therefore you need shoyr and chamoid. So you have shoyr and chamoid. Shoyr to tell you about his bech, chamoid to tell you about b'chayr. Seh normally, what says extra? Isn't that to teach you birds? To teach you birds. That's how we know birds are included. So the Gemara. The aim allows within birds you can break it down further. There's one bird that shines cloud to the musig of tumah, a kosher bird when you eat it. If it's the navel of a kosher bird, you didn't shecht it, you become tamei. The base bliasan when you swallow it, and a tumah bird you never become tamei. So maybe let's limit the kefil. You only pay double if you stole kosher birds. The aim allows you ifus to hate him. Do me the said the metame begona basically because you are metame your clothes when you swallow it. I believe it's main, but tumah birds to let tumah. There's no tumah. The limit time begona basically a lie. So we answer kol ribuyu. that this is not a klala prat. This is called by this is called it's a riboy. When it comes to riboy, we increase, we expand it, way beyond the normal criteria. And therefore, we include. Continue tomorrow, Mr. Shem. We'll discuss further.